Alrighty guys, today we are going to be reacting to one of the best Akali videos I have seen in a very long time. I've only watched the first few minutes, but it is by HappyChimeNoises and he always makes bangers and this is nothing short of that. So we're going to be going over this video, how an AD Akali got master, and I'm going to be giving my honest opinion on this video in terms of how good it is and all that stuff. So let's get right into it.
Akali is the one-shotting assassin with some of the weirdest combos in the game. The champion usually has a terrible win rate in almost every
I've seen
rank,
this meme
but
before.
I found a master player who has found the solution. This is Kunoichi, an AD Akali player in master tier. He has invented a build that turns Akali into a tanky bruiser that can take damage, stick on enemies, and survive for a long time in the backline, just like the old Akali. This is Akali on easy mode.
Oh.
This video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2, one of the
Nope.
Back to Akali. Our player, Kunoichi, is a German player on EU West. The name actually means female ninja in Japanese.
That's cool.
He first started playing Akali all the way back in Season 6, playing top lane in Bronze 2 and using her to climb to Gold. In Season 7, he got bored of the usual
Leave a
Akali
comment
style
if you
and
want
began trying out
if you
more
want them to
tanky
bring back
builds
the old
like
Akali.
Guardian Angel that had armor and magic resist, focusing on sticking to enemies and distracting their teammates. After a break in Season 8, he returned in Season 9 to a big change, the Akali rework. Trying the new AP build, he simply could not make it work, and could not climb. Mechanically, Kunoichi believes he's not great, so when playing a champion like Akali, he could not pull off the combos, and made too many mistakes so would always get killed.
Honestly,
so
makes sense as to why they play AD.
To his old style, creating a slower-paced AD build, once again fitting the champion to his playstyle. This build is much easier to play, giving him the leeway to make some mistakes and still come out ahead. With this build, he started climbing higher than ever before. By Season 11, with the new items, he again needed to find a new build for Akali. He tried.
I think this could be a good build if you're getting into Akali because it is harder to die. But you could also just go AP Bruising. We'll talk more about that.
But the AP version, no luck. So instead, he tested the AD Bruiser items. GOREDRINKER was perfect. He once again began climbing, passing his peak, reaching Master and climbing even higher by the end of the season, to over 200 LP. But how can AD Akali work? All of her abilities deal magic damage. Won't she just be useless? Actually, Akali's abilities, even though they deal magic damage, scale incredibly well with
They do.
AD.
Every ability, besides her ultimate, scales with that.
Scaling, and of course the auto attack does a lot more damage. Her Q has AD scaling that's even better than the AP version.
Oh my gosh, the dive.
E and ult again have AD scaling. So Akali gets the benefit of building these strong AD items to get through early game, then upgrade them to survival bruiser items to let her stay around in fights for much longer.
I personally don't think it makes much of a difference to go AD. You do a little bit more with autos, and that can help you get earlier kills. But as you'll see, building into Sterak's and Death Stance is not that
while
good.
Still having the option to buy AP items, like Zhonya's for the OP active. AD Akali can do it all, while being even easier to play thanks to her tankiness. At level 1, Akali
Very
takes
true.
Q.
Very
her
tanky.
early levels with any build are always her weakest. She tries to grab as many CS as possible without taking poke, grabbing E at level 2. In some matchups, you can actually look for a solo kill,
You
since
love
she
to
plays
see it.
with TP Ignite. Akali is one of the champions that is so mobile, flash is not needed. She has 3 spells that can be used for mobility, and reactivated for even more. His main combo in lane is E into auto attack into E2 into another auto attack.
And if you use this combo, you can get so many kills early game that you never would have thought existed. You just do so much damage with E passive proc, E passive proc.
Igniting to look for a kill. Maximizing his damage using auto attacks and passive gives you enough damage to burst squishy champions and beat them with the Ignite. Taking W at level 3, Akali keeps playing for CS, looking to base early on for pickaxe as her first damage. This sets her up for level 6, where the champion takes off in power. She can now look for 1v1 solo kills against almost any top laner, again with a focus on using E and auto attacks for damage,
he's a top lane
sticking
main.
on enemies with ult. Akali is great top lane, especially with this AD build.
Something else to mention is doing this build, it makes you tankier obviously, and you have the healing from GOREDRINKER. Much better in the top lane where it fits the bruiser role. and you need to be more AP assassin like for that damage in the mid lane.
She can use
Fits
all
the
of
team
her
comps
ability
usually
just
better.
to stay on top of enemies, DPSing them with auto attacks. And since he takes teleport, he's constantly looking for opportunities to use it. AD Akali is a great teleporter as she has the damage.
She's very good with
contributes in
teleport.
early fights, while also having the high mobility to clean up multiple kills. Kunoichi keeps wave near his tower, not using his Q on the wave to make sure he doesn't shove it. If enemies walk close, he can engage and chase them down, staying untargetable in
almost
his
got the
W
double.
to avoid any return damage. Early skirmishes on AD Akali are all about choosing one enemy to focus and staying on them with auto attacks until they die. He buys his first item, GOREDRINKER. This item is ideal for Akali. She is a dive champion who often struggles if she's in a group of people. When you play her, you always want to jump
It
into a group
just
of enemies
became
and
good
try
on
and kill
Akali
everyone.
after it
But every
got
time you do
changed.
it, you die, because you're too squishy. AD Akali can finally make this terrible play work out, with her tankiness and GOREDRINKER to keep her alive
classic
long
terrible
enough to
play.
enter her shroud. Kunoichi stays in a side lane throughout mid-game, continuing to take 1v1s and go for solo kills on anyone he meets. He continues looking for teleports, especially bot lane. By the time he has one item, he will not die to an AD carry, so can clean up double kills anytime he joins. The risk of counter ganks are not very high, so he can use Shroud to avoid any damage during the initial engage. So he'll
This is
still
very
be able to
true.
turn if anyone teleports.
Very
or
strong
ganks.
split pusher.
With GOREDRINKER active and Q, he can now one-shot waves, so he can easily push and move to a team fight. In team fights, finally AD Akali power spikes. With GOREDRINKER and another AD survivability item, Akali looks first for an assassination. Her damage is still really high. She can enter with R1, using GOREDRINKER auto attack Q to burst an enemy, then using her tankiness to stall out the fight. Unlike the AP version, AD Akali wants to extend the fight as much as possible to try and get maximum value out of her E and GOREDRINKER, using the
I would like to say that normal
Multiple
AP
times.
Akali also likes 610 fights, especially the AP Bruiser with Riftmaker. The problem is it's not a problem. The beautiful thing about Akali is there are just so many different ways you could play her, play styles, builds, that she can literally be any type of champion you need her to be. Literally, she's that strong. I'm not going to say overpowered.
times.
YouTube
The longer
comments
the
will kill
fight,
me.
The better it is if you have sustained damage, just like Akali. Akali can engage these fights, using E and holding it, waiting 2 seconds for energy and cooldowns to return, then going in after enemies think it's too late. Using E on the enemy frontline is another good option to enter. Akali can go in and cancel it using her ultimate to reposition.
It is
her
very
into
nice
backline.
to go
If
for
you're
the
not one to
Bruiser
get hit by
build,
the shuriken,
being able
you're
to
not
jump in
likely
and
to
not get
notice
one
or
shot
play
if you
around
mess
it.
up.
So Akali can take
That is
advantage of
fair.
this. Entering the backline, disrupting
But that's part of the fun,
enemies,
too.
sticking on the carries for as long as possible, continuously disrupting their formation and leaving their frontline with no damage.
Akali is the
This
best
fight
disruptor
shows
in the
why
game.
AD Akali is so good. Usually, Sejuani would just engage onto her, use ultimate while her team follows up, one-shotting Akali, letting Aurelia clean up the fight.
Very
But with
true.
Akali's tankiness, she is engaged on and can walk it out, kiting away from danger. A good re-engage lets Akali go straight onto the enemy backline, collecting a kill with absolutely no danger.
Yes,
She
and if
can
you guys were wondering what AP Akali does in that situation, you just go around and behind, or you go for a flank, and then you ult onto Lux. There's definitely ways for each
Re-engage
situation.
lets Akali go straight onto the enemy backline, collecting a kill with absolutely no danger. She can now take big risks, like going into this group of 3 enemies to get a pick, stalling in the Shroud, and being just tanky enough to handle the damage and get out.
Oof.
Late game, Akali stays mobile and only gets harder to deal with extra tools like Zhonya's, comboed with her GOREDRINKER and all of her dashes. She always has a way to outplay in any situation, like exiting with her ult second
That's an
time.
understatement.
If Akali
She
is
always can
bomb,
outplay.
He uses all the tools he has to stall to avoid any damage or CC, letting enemies waste abilities, and then turning the fight, going in on the carry to pressure them and stop their DPS. The most important part of Akali are her combos, so here are some simple ones that Kunoichi uses every game. Your passive auto attack damage cannot be cancelled. The damage will always go through, but you can cancel the animation to make it super fast. If you use your R into your E, it's pretty much guaranteed it will
Yep.
land, because you
Classic
always know
level
which
6
direction
engage.
the enemy is. GOREDRINKER can be used during your E in mid-air, letting you fit it into your combo without losing any time. GOREDRINKER can also be used during ultimate. You can press it while you're in the air, and it goes off at the end, again speeding up
I will say really quick, if you guys want to know any Akali combos, search for my Ultimate Season 11 Akali guide, because if you're curious about that stuff.
your combo, and making sure you immediately regain health. Using E on his Shroud is a common extra trick to outplay enemies. If he's engaging, he can use E to move forwards, always having the option to run away, like Yone E, so the play is very safe. If he's trapped and trying to outplay, then again, your ability should either be used for damage or to return to a zone of safety, like your Shroud. One huge difference between AP and AD Akali is how energy is used. The Q ability on AD Akali is much less important than her E, as that lets you stick on enemies and use your GOREDRINKER and auto attacks for DPS. Spamming Q actually decreases your overall damage and limits the plays you can make. You want your fights to be long, so controlling your energy use means it's important than her E, as that lets you stick on enemies and use your GOREDRINKER and auto attacks for DPS.
I'm not sure that's correct.
Decreases your overall damage and limits the plays you can make.
I think it's incredibly important for both ways to keep getting passive procs.
You can wait for your window and be ready to go in when it appears. Kunoichi bans Camille or Riven every game, champions that can beat his sustained damage. His unique advice for matchups: even in bad matchups, it's important to identify when you still have an advantage. For example, against an Aatrox, it's a hard lane, but Akali has a big advantage at level 1, so you can gain control of the wave to get an XP advantage. Against Irelia, you struggle a lot early on. She beats you in any fight, but after level 6, you can now win. For his AD build,
what a Chad. He knows he wins that, so he ignores 2 waves to kill Irelia.
Early base for pickaxe is ideal to set up his level 6 solo kill. Iron Spike Whip is another good component for your combo.
Yep, builds into from pickaxe, Iron Spike.
Kunoichi has built Stride Breaker in the past. It's not as good for team fights, but it does help him get more 1v1 picks. For boots, he goes Sorcerer Shoes most games, because Magic Pen is still important since your abilities still deal magic damage, but can take tank boots if enemies have too much of one damage.
Beautiful.
Next, he finally gets his survival items. Death Stance against AD, otherwise by Sterax. Both completely throw off enemies.
So these are the builds. You can go any boots, even Sork boots, because you do magic damage, even if you're building all AD, it doesn't matter. Your autos do magic damage, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it looks like the build actually is in the middle of the build.
For way too long. After this, he has a ton of options. He can buy
GOREDRINKER,
items
Death
or more
Stance.
AD. Demonic Embrace is good against
Demonic
high
is
HP
good.
enemies. Zhonya's active is really good, so you can buy that for the safety.
So this is more of like
Morello's
a hybrid
anti-heal,
build.
Or Void Staff if you need to shred magic resist.
Okay.
For his runes, since he is a bruiser.
Okay,
he
so
loves Conqueror,
it's not.
for his runes,
It's
anti-heal.
AD Mythic. Maybe getting Death Stance or Sterax. Okay, so this is definitely the best version I could imagine of being a serious Akali build. Because if it was all AD, the problem is Sterax is not very good. Death Stance is only good situationally. That was what I was going to talk about in the end of this video, which we're almost at the end. Is that AD Akali doesn't have that many good item options, and that's a big reason why it's not as good as compared to AP.
Or Void Staff if you need to shred magic resist. For his runes, since he is a bruiser, he loves Conqueror.
Triumph, no presence of mind. That's something I'm seeing a lot of people taking. Overgrowth, bone plating, everything seems pretty standard. Last Stand instead of Coup de Grace, because he has a lot more health, I think.
He already has a new build he is testing. The GOREDRINKER build is still great, but he now has the option to go into a Shadow Flame AP build as well, with Proto built into Shadow Flame
this is
Void Staff for a stupid amount of magic penetration.
This is
so
currently what a lot of Akali mains are testing.
In all elos.
Is Rocket Belt Shadow Flame. Void Staff is a bit overkill because I don't think it would actually do as much compared to having AP, but
which hasn't happened for 3 years, so it will be nerfed very soon. If you want to see more of Kunoichi, his stream and YouTube are in the description. Thanks again to Guild Wars for sponsoring this video.
Guys, I have to say, this his name is HappyChimeNoises. Sorry, he is one of my favorite League content creators right now. He makes absolute bangers. You know, all my friends watch him, so be sure to check him out. If you want to see some wacky builds, these videos are just so high quality. So if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new to my channel, and obviously subscribe to him. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Also, Season 11 Ultimate Akali Guide. If you want to get better at Akali, I'll link that down below as well.